And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello. It is Mystery Monday, and I am thrilled to welcome live from Finland, where it is 9 p.m., Max Seeck, the internationally and New York Times best-selling author, here to give us the inside scoop on his brand new book, The Last Grudge, out tomorrow. Max, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about The Last Grudge.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's so great to be here. I'm a huge fan of your show, and The Last Grudge is the third installment of the Jessica Niemi series. However, it can be read as a standalone. Obviously, you don't have to read the previous ones. And basically, it's about this high-level business executive getting killed in his own apartment late at night, doors locked. No one knows really what's happening or what has happened to him. And we have Jessica Niemi, who we know from the previous books, is trying to solve the case. And we also see like there's this parallel story. We also see what has happened in the past for certain people, and then we get to know more why, and not only how, but also why all this happened. So it's basically two different time levels, and I had a lot of fun writing it. Scary fun. Yeah.
Well, scary fun is our kind of fun, Max.
Yeah, I don't know
So
if it's a thing. I hope so.
you're in the right place and you have found your people. So we're so excited to
Crazy.
talk to you. We are going live to 6 different locations across Facebook and YouTube. So first, I just want to welcome everyone. Welcome, no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. And we're going to talk all things murder, mystery, and writing with the incredible Max Seeck. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Come on in. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So this is an incredible opportunity to ask Max, again, joining us live from Finland. He's both a screenwriter and a thriller author. So ask him about his writing process. Ask him about this book. Ask him anything you'd like to know, and we'll get that going in the comments, and I'll get them right over to him. So, Max, first of all, I just want to kick off. I have some questions myself. So, first of all, this book, as you said, is going back and forth between multiple points of view. So, are you a plotter? Do you just write as the story comes to you? Because it's a lot to organize. How did you do it?
Well, I mean, it is a lot to organize. However, I usually just start writing and see where it goes. At some point, I come up with the ending. It might be very early on, or it might be later. But then I basically just jump to the end, write the ending, go back and try to connect the dots during the whole process. I mean, it sounds like it's insane. I would say at the same time, it's so much more easy nowadays when since we are having the word or pages or the software we can actually write with, obviously, compared to the masters like Agatha Christie from the old days who just had the typewriter, and I think they pretty much had to, or it was more convenient to not changing it all. It was kind of difficult to just go between the pages and add a chapter, whatever. I think it's nowadays it's quite convenient that you can just write anything. You can write the ending, and if the whatever happens in between doesn't match with the ending, you can always go back and do some editing and do some additional sentences, chapter, additional characters. So I think it's a really messy process for me. I could do it more scientifically, but so far I haven't been able to help myself.
We're in the same boat. So welcome to the boat. I'll help you row
I'm glad
because
I'm not alone, because so many writers, they have like post-it notes or Excel sheet where they just plan in advance. Like Lars Kepler is one of those, a couple
yes.
that I heard they told that they are basically just planning it all in the Excel sheet and then they start writing.
Yes, exactly. And Jeffrey Deaver is another one. He spends 6 to 8 months plotting it out. He has sometimes 180 pages of an outline, and then he just executes. So I'm going to try to do that next time, maybe, but it has not been my process so far. And I think I do make myself a life harder on myself because I can't trying to go back and connect the dots. So first of all, how long did it take you to write this book, start to finish?
Well, my process is basically when I write, I do it like full time, from very early morning until the evening, and no exceptions. I have an office, and I go there in the morning, start writing, and if I have like this writer's block, if I cannot create new story wise, nothing new story wise, then I can always do some background work or interview some people who know, like police officers or lawyers or doctors, just to get some more like real stuff in my books. And this is the way I work for 7 months. Is pretty much the time I use for one book. And I don't think I could, I've done 7 books in more or less 9 years. And the first book I wrote like for 2 years, and then every year I have published a new book in Finland. And for myself, I think it just works the best that I have a really tight schedule. I don't think it would make any better if I would have like 12 more months. I think it would hurt my process maybe. So far so good. I think 7 months, short answer.
Wow. 7 months start to finish. That's amazing. Now, Max, what have you learned from book 1 to book 7? Have you changed? Have you learned anything? What would you tell your book 1 self?
Yeah.
Now
Well,
7 books.
I really hope. I think it's a really good question. I really hope I, developed myself as a writer. I really hope I become better. It's really hard to judge my own stuff. I mean, first of all, it's really hard to go back and open my own book and start reading and see if it's very different. I think I was 30 when I published my first book, and there are like some I think there are some things that I wouldn't write like this anymore. Like there's a lot of cursing and a lot of profanity, like much more than nowadays. I think what I do nowadays is trying to concentrate on the really clever story and characters. And I think with age, I at least have become a much more civilized writer in a way, and maybe more sophisticated, if you will.
Ooh.
This is my own. I don't know if I'm even right about this, but I think it more mature, the stuff I do nowadays. And I think because I have written 2 series, one with this male protagonist Daniel Kuisma, this former peacekeeper soldier, masculine guy, and then Jessica Niemi, this 37-year-old female detective. And I think they're 2 very different series, and I personally like the latter one, the one you are having in your hand right now.
Yay. And Max, I'm really glad you're bringing that up because that is on my list of questions for you. So, what is it like for you to write a woman perspective? A woman your same age, also Finnish, but totally different than you. So as a man, how do you get in the mindset of a woman? Do you have female beta readers? Tell us about the process of writing Jessica.
Again, a really, really good question. I've been asked this sometimes. Like I told you before, my former, like the first protagonist I did with for 3 books was Daniel Kuisma, this really masculine guy, with a lot of traumas and like post traumatic stress disorder. The guy who was not perfect, but I think he was more like me in many ways than or he was the main character. I think there was a lot of myself in him. So when I was done with him after 3 books, I wanted to do something completely different. I wanted to have a character or protagonist who was as different as possible from the first one. So I thought, now I'm going to write a police officer, and I think she had to be a woman because then again we can have this separation from the first one. Uh, I was I had this kind of self doubt for a while that can I, as a male writer, is it possible for me to write a credible female
Yes.
lead?
Yeah.
character, I think it was a huge, amazing challenge for myself.
Yeah.
I have a lot of female friends. My wife was basically there for me. She read it, and my editor is a she. She's always been there for all my 7 books, and she gave me feedback all the time. And what I think, what I'm quite proud of, that nor my wife nor my editor had to intervene. Like, Max, this is total nonsense. We don't think like this. There wasn't anything like this. Just the small details. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't think we are that different, and especially when it comes to down to that we have a detective, whether it's a she or he. I think we still have this one task, and it's solve the crime. And I'm quite proud of myself in terms of that. She became quite credible, and the feedback I've received is very positive. So
Yes, exactly. And I like what you said, that in the end, we're not that different, because I think while we are different, we're all obviously humans. And sometimes writers get so focused on delving into the intricacies of that character, or trying to pull it out in an artful way, that
yeah.
they forget to just tell the darn story, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, there is a murder, there is an investigation. She wants to solve the case, and that isn't going to change. That's the same regardless of the gender of your detective.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I think also it's like a profession thing, that people who do want to work as a police, or for the police department, I think the job basically attracts a certain kind of people. You know,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
just like, a hospital. People who want to be doctors. I think there are some similarities between these people, regardless if they're women or men, or something else. So I think this is why it's not very relevant if it was a she or he at this point. And at, after writing 4 books about Jessica Niemi, I'm really glad I did choose a woman, because I think I learned a lot. I had really interesting discussions that I wouldn't have had would it been a he. I
Yeah.
think with my editor and with my wife and
Yeah.
some friends, and with the readers' feedback. So I think it was a really interesting journey for me, and I'm happy I did it.
Yeah. So what was one of those interesting conversations? Like, what's the conversation that stands out to you, whether it was with your wife or your editor, where it was one of those moments for you?
Well, they were like quite minor things. Maybe, yeah. Well, it's kind of awkward to admit, but they were mostly things that I kind of assumed that a she would do or think in this situation, based on how I perceived myself. Like I've been on the other side of such discussions, and I thought, like, she must think this way.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure I'm sure she's now thinking about this, or she thinks about me something. I don't know if it makes sense,
Yeah.
but then when I write it down and my editor says to me, I don't think any woman would think this way about
Yeah.
a guy or about some encounter. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? I kind of always, I was 100% sure that this is the case. No, 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 no. So, but usually, I mean, I cannot think of anything, like any specific things, but there were a couple of those, and they were usually quite minor. That had
And
nothing to do with the profession, but being a lady. I assumed that maybe that, like I said, I assumed that this would be something that a woman would think in this situation.
right,
I
right.
was wrong a couple of times.
I bet. I wonder if that's changed your next conversation with your wife, where now you better understand her perspective. You're like,
Yeah, yeah,
actually, Jessica would think this.
yeah. I think it's a minefield. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Everybody, the book is not even out yet. It comes out tomorrow. And speaking of women, you can order it from our favorite woman owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. So, no matter where you're watching from on Facebook or YouTube, here is the link. So, click and order The Last Grudge, and you too can immerse yourself in the world of Detective Jessica and all of Max's fabulous characters, which I want to get into as well. So here is the link. Click and order, and the good folks at Murder by the Book will send the book out to you tomorrow when the book comes out here in the US. This is so exciting. So again, here's that link. Click, 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 order, and get your hands on The Last Grudge. Meanwhile, Max, I want to talk to you about one of the central themes of the book, which is bullying. So something so universal, so relatable. I think we've all felt, I know I have felt that feeling. Tell us about why you wanted to write about that, why it was important to you.
Yeah, I think in the book there's kids bullying each other, and then also adults continuing, like not stopping and doing it a bit differently, but still bullying. And I think it's a really huge topic nowadays, not only in Finland, but as you said, universal. We can see kids bullying each other in schools, but then again, we have social media where we can see adults bullying each other and the kids. And I think it's just insane. And I think there should be more we can do about it. I think I was when I started. I don't know the grading system, like the third grade in Finland. I think I'm like 9 years old. I went to new school nearby, and I faced some bullying, and I think it lasted like a couple of years until I think I finally managed to find a way to make a stop of it, just to stand up for myself and stuff like this. I definitely had my share of bullying when I was a kid, and I think I kind of, because it didn't then continue much longer, I think it was when I was a younger kid, I kind of forget about it for a long time until I had my own kids. Like 4 years ago, I had my first son, and then 2 years ago my second one, and now when they are in the kindergarten, I think sometimes I feel like something has happened in the kindergarten, and it really bothers me. And I think just nowadays it feels so terrible to think even that my sons would be bullied, or any kids, for that
Mm,
matter. I think it's just really important, for the fact that, I mean, bullying really leaves scars. And I have many friends who've been really bullied, like big time, and there are still certain things that they are uncertain of, like body wise, or I mean, I've
oh,
been told like that I have skinny hands when I was a young boy, and I like obsessively I did some training, like gym training, many years, just to get rid of my skinny hands, and still I
your
think I have
skinny
skinny.
hands.
Yeah, it kind of sticks to you.
It
So yeah,
it sticks to you. It
yeah,
sticks to you, exactly, in a way that it gets in there, and it's funny because when as a screenwriter and as an author, you have received certainly your share of praise. You are a New York Times bestselling author, an internationally bestselling author. You're also a very successful screenwriter. Max has just returned from being up at 4 a.m. flying to go talk to his about his movie. So but it's interesting because no matter how much praise and accolades you receive, when you have it, those scars, as you say, they get in there, especially when you're younger, and
yeah,
they live in there, and it's hard to not think about them or let them come out.
yeah. It's crazy. I mean, when we are kids, we are basically so open for insults.
Yeah.
It's so easy to destroy our self confidence when we're
Mm.
younger. I think this is the age where adults, or grown ups, should just have their eyes open, the teachers, everybody involved with kids, and
Mm.
be extra cautious to see if somebody is being named or bullied. Like I
Mm.
said, I mean, I had my share. That was not the worst possible case. I have friends who have been really bullied, not only
Oh,
by with words, but only like physically. And it's we had this discussion. Sometimes it's really hard for those people to talk about it still, even after 25
mhm.
years, and it can actually
Yeah.
impact, to this day it can impact their personal lives, how they approach people, how they make friends, how they maybe date people. It's just it's sad, really, and it's only we can only blame. I'd say we can only blame people who let it happen. Not even the
Exactly.
kids. These are kids, It's
Exactly. And can we teach empathy and can we teach compassion and can we think about how it would be to be in that other person's shoes and create that kindness and that empathy and compassion in our young people so that
yeah,
this doesn't keep happening.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Um
But
so Max, I want to talk about some of the amazing praise that your book has gotten. So Publishers Weekly had actually advised that people start with the first book in the series, but you're saying people can jump in anywhere.
well, yeah, it helps to have read the previous books, but I have written the books in a way that you can always start and read them as a standalone, because I didn't want to assume that everybody has read the
Right.
previous books. I think it's but yeah, I'd say it helps. If you have read the first one, The Witch Hunter or The Ice Coven, I think you basically find maybe more levels. You can
Mhm.
relate to the events differently. You might recall something from the previous work, and it can be more fun in many ways. But still, I know many people in Finland, for instance, who have only read this one, and they didn't complain. I have never heard that. Hey, what was this? I have read the first one. Many people do then go and read the first and the second one just out of curiosity, but I think it's just the way I wanted to do it, and
Because that's the challenge of writing a series. You have to, some people have been with you from the beginning, and some people are
yeah,
just meeting Jessica. And so you have to write to both of those readers where it's
yeah,
they may not know and other
yeah.
people may know. And so that's an additional challenge you had to face
Well,
as
yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges while writing a series. I mean, I'm
yeah,
after every part of Jessica Niemi, I've always thought about maybe I should write a standalone, like with new characters now, because it's starting fresh, and I think it's easier for you as well to get to know the characters. And because what we're writing about Jessica, I have done 4 books with Jessica now, and maybe I write the fifth one, but I constantly have to think about: did I already mention this? Did I already tell you that it's the audience? Do everybody know this? Is it relevant? And again, every book has their own plot line, like their own story, their own crime, their own mystery.
right.
I'd say it's just like a TV series where you have the same characters, you kind of know them, but then again, every season has its own storyline. So you can just start watching, say, The Sinner, the season 3, which I did, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't bother me. I haven't seen the first or second season.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Or actually, season number 4. I just watched.
I love that. I like the analogy of a TV series because sometimes you do jump in and then you go back and watch.
Yeah.
Max, let's take a few questions from the audience. Susan would like to know, Max, what writers have influenced you? Great
Um,
question.
it is a really good question. I basically usually divide these sources of inspiration to two, and one of this crime fiction side with also Stephen King, Dean Koontz, for instance, Dan Brown, Lars Kepler, Jon Nesbø from Norway is amazing. But then again, I have really amazing writers which I admire, have nothing to do with crime fiction, such as Paul Auster and George Orwell. It's a bit random, but I really love his work. I did when I was a kid already. I did Animal Farm and 84. Amazing book, still one of my favorite ones. John Williams wrote the book called Stoner, one of my favorite books ever. And Dan Brown is really good. I think just the way he just comes up with the plot and all the details. I think he's one of the masters. I have I think I once wrote all my inspirations down. I have like 25 or 30 authors altogether. I think I only mentioned like 8 or 9, but I think those Agatha Christie, definitely one of the grand old lady of the genre. She's really amazing.
Yes, yes. And it's so interesting to see how you name people both in crime fiction and Dean Koontz, um, Agatha Christie, but people outside of it as well, including George Orwell, and Animal Farm. I like hearing that both inside the genre and outside the
Yeah,
genre.
I forgot to mention actually one from New York, the Yanagihara. Have you read the I don't know what's in English. I read it in Finnish. It's like something like this terrible life,
This terrible life. Okay, let me look.
or I will look it up, but it's in Finnish. It's like pieni elämä, like small life. I don't know if it translates, but
Snail life. Okay, let me
I
look
will
that
look
up.
it up. A huge book, like at 900 pages, I think, really one of my favorites. Really tragic.
900 pages.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Now, Max, the publishers, no, sorry, yes, Publishers Weekly had likened your work to, and I hope I'm saying this right, Ragnar Jonasson, um, in terms of Nordic noir. Does that resonate? Is Ragnar Jonasson an influence for you as well?
well, yeah. I've only read like one book of his. I really like the book. It's only like you only have time to read so many books, and I've heard he's a really amazing writer. I read
Yeah.
one, I really liked it, and he's doing fantastic. I think he's like one of the biggest names, not only in Europe but also getting there to be one of the greatest in the North America. I've
Yeah.
actually met him 2 times. He's a really nice guy. However, I don't know if I'm obviously flattered if somebody compares my work with his work, but I don't think I can judge it because I've only read one of his books, and but I think we have some, they're not that similar.
Yeah. I think so. I think one thing that I've noticed a lot of people talking about in the crime fiction community is the subgenre Nordic noir.
Yeah,
And as someone who's Finnish, I understand why people say like, oh, you're part of this subgenre. There's also, as I was reading The Last Grudge, I felt like there was a starkness to the writing and to the story that I think people also, when they see something that's very very sparse and very very concise and a little dark, they're like, Nordic, he lives in Finland, it must be a Nordic noir.
yeah.
Do you, in terms of your writing, do you feel like your writing is that more stark, incisive style that people associate with Nordic noir? And what's that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's a really cool subgenre, and I think it's basically originating from Sweden, Norway. I think they were a bit ahead of us
Yeah.
originally, and Ragnar is from Iceland, so we have like 4 or 5 countries
Yeah.
producing quite good Nordic noir.
Mm.
And I think what makes a good Nordic noir is exactly the atmosphere, the Nordic
Ooh.
weather. I mean, we do have summers. I before we went, I told you it's like basically Helsinki, where I'm from. It's like Boston or Toronto. Like weather-wise, we have nice summers, then we have quite cold, long winters. But especially now when it's really dark outside all the time, it's windy, it's kind of snowy. It
Mm.
makes a perfect atmosphere for a crime fiction novel.
Yes.
And I have this theory. I don't know if it's not scientific one. I feel like since the Nordic countries are generally quite safe, I think it's like relatively low crime rate, and it's
Yeah.
pretty safe to live here. There's pretty good life standards in general. I think reading crime fiction is a nice way to escape your not a boring life per se. And I'm privileged to have a boring life. I know not everybody is as lucky as I am, but
Great.
basically, like generally, people are maybe escaping their like safe lives. That's why you go to horror
Yes.
movie, why you read a scary book. You wanna feel different feelings, and
That's so true because Finland, I know, has incredible health care, wonderful maternity leave, really great support for family life, family, prioritizing healthcare,
So we have,
families,
we
I
have
mean, all
all,
these wonderful things, and has one of the lowest gun violence rates in the world, something that I unfortunately do not have the luxury of over here, although I do feel very safe where I am. So it's interesting because you're right. Like when we this is a way to escape, but through safely through the pages of a book. That's such a great insight. I love that.
that yeah, I kind of feel that's why I started writing, why I like to read crime fiction. I don't know if it applies to everybody, but yeah, uh, I think there's some truth in it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Y'all, the book is out tomorrow. It's not even out here. Max is jumping on it live from Finland to give us the inside scoop on The Last Grudge the night before it comes out, telling us all the things about his detective Jessica, about writing, about his creative process. And here is the link once again. So I'm going to post it here no matter where you're watching from, Facebook, YouTube. You can pre-order tonight and today, and the good folks at Murder by the Book will send the book out to you tomorrow. So here again is that link. Click and pre-order. Max, thank you so much for coming on and giving us the inside scoop on The Last Grudge. It has been such a pleasure to hear about your personal connection to this book, to the story, hear what it's like to write a female, kick-ass female detective, your seventh book. Thank you so much for sharing all of this process. Congratulations and happy American Pub Day tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and really happy to be a part of the show.
Yay. And please come back when your next book is out.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much and congratulations. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.